It started with a feeling I couldn't shake, a quiet, gnawing unease that settled in my chest like a storm waiting to break. I had always trusted her, always believed that love was enough to shield us from betrayal. But lately, things had been different. Small things at first. A glance that lingered too long at her phone. A text message that disappeared before I could see it. Excuses that sounded rehearsed, too polished to be genuine. My heart told me something was wrong, but my mind desperately clung to the hope that I was imagining it all. That night, she came home later than usual. Her perfume lingered in the air, sharp and unfamiliar. She smiled when she saw me, but it didn't reach her eyes. There was a hesitation, a split second of hesitation, that made my stomach twist in knots. "I was just caught up with work," she said, her voice calm, almost too calm. And yet, even as I nodded, trying to believe her, a whisper of doubt crept in. I wanted to trust her. I truly did. But the feeling grew, like dark clouds gathering on a horizon I couldn't escape. Every laugh that seemed forced, every phone call that ended abruptly when I entered the room, every fleeting shadow of secrecy, it all added up. My intuition screamed, yet I silenced it, blaming my imagination, telling myself I was being paranoid. That night, as I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake it. Something was happening behind my back, something I wasn't supposed to see. And deep down, I knew this wasn't fleeting worry. It was a warning, the kind that gnaws at your heart, making it impossible to ignore. Little did I know, the truth waiting for me was far more devastating than any doubt I had ever felt. The lies, the deception, and the betrayal were all closer than I could ever imagine. And when they finally came to light, nothing in my life would ever be the same again. It wasn't long before I learned her name, Emma. At first, it was just a whisper in passing conversations. A colleague from work, my partner, insisted was just a friend. But something about the way she spoke about Emma, the subtle hesitation in her voice, made my stomach churn. There was a lightness, a thrill even, whenever Emma was mentioned, as if the very name carried a secret I wasn't supposed to know. I tried to brush it off. Surely I was overthinking. After all, friendships between men and women were normal, weren't they? Yet the little things began to pile up, forming a pattern I could no longer ignore. Texts sent at odd hours, messages that disappeared before I could even glance at the screen. And those fleeting moments when she'd smile at a notification, her eyes lighting up in a way I had never seen directed at me. One evening, I stumbled across her messages by accident, or perhaps fate wanted me to see. The conversation wasn't overtly inappropriate, not yet, but the undertone was unmistakable. Flirtatious words disguised as jokes, compliments hidden in casual phrasing, and plans made in secrecy. Every line of text felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. When I confronted her about Emma, she shook her head and smiled with a practiced ease. "We're just talking," she said, her voice soft but insistent. "It's nothing, I swear." Her words were meant to reassure, but instead, they ignited a fire of suspicion in me. There was a sincerity in her tone that almost convinced me. Almost, yet my heart refused to quiet its alarms. As the days passed, I found myself caught between fear and hope. Hope that I was wrong. Fear that I wasn't. The shadow of Emma loomed larger with every secretive message, every unexplained absence, and every insistence that there was nothing to worry about. I couldn't escape it, and deep down, I sensed that the worst was yet to come, a revelation that would shatter every ounce of trust one had left. The more I tried to ignore it, the louder the signs became. Every day, my partner's behavior seemed to confirm the unease that had been gnawing at me for weeks. It started with small things. Her phone always tucked away, notifications silenced, and the occasional guilty glance when I walked into a room. I tried to convince myself that these were harmless habits. But deep down, I knew something was being hidden. Late-night messages became more frequent. I would hear the soft buzz of her phone and watch her glance at it with a subtle tension, a nervousness that betrayed her words. When I asked casually who she was texting, she would respond with a practiced smile, "Just work stuff. Nothing to worry about." But the unease didn't dissipate. It only grew. I began noticing patterns I couldn't ignore. The sudden secrecy, the way she avoided my gaze, the way her mood shifted after phone calls that she claimed were ordinary. Friends began to notice my distraction. "Is everything okay at home?" they would ask, and I would smile, nod, and lie. I couldn't admit my fear. Not yet. Not until I had proof. Every excuse she gave me felt rehearsed, like lines memorized from a script meant to disarm me. And yet, my instincts screamed that this was more than casual friendship. Emma's presence lingered in my mind, haunting every interaction, every glance, every word exchanged behind closed doors. One evening, I followed the trail my intuition had carved. I tried to catch a glimpse of her messages, only to find her phone locked, screens wiped clean, and conversations deleted. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of fear and frustration. She noticed my scrutiny but laughed it off. "You're being paranoid again. Trust me, it's innocent." Her words were like a venomous bomb, meant to soothe but burning all the same. Sleep became impossible. Every creak of the floor, every notification, every late-night silence felt like a warning. I replayed moments over and over in my mind, the hidden smiles, the hushed conversations, the quick exits when I entered the room. I felt trapped between love and suspicion, hope and despair. The gnawing fear of betrayal became unbearable, and I realized that the truth wasn't going to reveal itself without a storm. Something was coming, something I wasn't prepared for, and yet I couldn't look away. I couldn't bear the uncertainty any longer. The gnawing suspicion had grown into a roaring storm inside me, and I knew it was time to confront her. That evening, I waited until we were alone, my hands trembling slightly as I tried to steady my voice. "We need to talk," I said, forcing calm into words that felt anything but. She looked up from her phone, her expression unreadable, and smiled faintly. "About what?" she asked, almost casual, almost innocent. I swallowed hard, summoning every ounce of courage. "I know something's going on with Emma. I see the way you act, the late-night messages, the secrecy. Don't lie to me. I can't handle it anymore." Her eyes widened, just enough to convince me she might be hurt by my words. She reached out, placing her hand over mine, her touch warm and disarming. "We're just talking," she said softly, her voice trembling slightly, though it seemed practiced. "It's nothing more. I promise, you're imagining things." I wanted to believe her. I really did. The way she looked at me, the way she tried to soothe my fears. It was almost convincing. Almost. But deep inside, a cold voice whispered that this was exactly how a lie would sound. The heart wants to believe, but intuition doesn't lie. For a moment, I hesitated, caught between hope and despair. I searched her face for any crack in the facade, any glimpse of the truth behind the rehearsed words. But there was nothing, only a mask, carefully worn to convince me that all was well. And yet, even as I nodded, even as I whispered reluctant, "Okay, I trust you," a spark of doubt remained, growing like wildfire in the back of my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end, that something much darker and more devastating was waiting just beyond the veil of her words. Something I wasn't ready to face yet. I had barely begun to process our confrontation when the message arrived. At first, I thought it was spam, a wrong number perhaps, but the name that appeared on my screen froze my blood. Jessica. My heart lurched. That was Emma's wife. I hesitated for a moment, unsure if I should open it. Curiosity, dread, and a painful premonition warred inside me, each second stretching into an eternity. Finally, I tapped the message. What I saw made my chest tighten, my hands tremble, and my mind reel. Screenshots. Hundreds of them. Conversations between her and Emma. Flirty, intimate, secretive. Messages filled with laughter, longing, and betrayal. Plans made in whispers. Confessions hidden behind digital walls. Every word I had doubted now carried proof. She hadn't been just talking. She had been lying, manipulating, weaving a web of deceit right under my nose. The first screenshot was enough to shatter me. There they were, sharing jokes that were meant to feel private, planning a meeting I had no knowledge of, and speaking in a way that made it clear she had feelings for Emma that went far beyond friendship. My stomach churned, bile rising as anger, disbelief, and heartbreak collided inside me. The second screenshot was worse. Emma had confessed to feeling trapped, expressing frustration with her own life, and hinting at secret meetings they'd had behind closed doors. My partner had responded with words of comfort, laughter, and subtle promises that were meant to conceal the truth. Each screenshot tore another layer from my illusion of trust, leaving me raw, exposed, and trembling. Tears blurred my vision, but I couldn't stop reading. The final message from Jessica, Emma's wife, was the cruelest. She wrote simply, "I think you should see the truth for yourself. She's been lying to you from the start." That one sentence was enough to confirm everything I had feared but couldn't prove. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. She had lied, manipulated, and betrayed me, and now the evidence was in my hands. I felt a dizzying mix of rage and sorrow, betrayal and disbelief. The person I had loved, trusted, and shared my life would have been playing a dangerous game all along. And in that moment, I understood one horrifying truth. My life would never be the same again. The screenshots burned in my mind like a relentless wildfire. I couldn't escape them. Every word, every hidden smile, every whispered plan haunted me. Sleep became impossible. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, reliving betrayal over and over, each memory sharper, each realization more painful. The person I had trusted completely, the one I had shared my dreams and fears with, had been deceiving me all along. Anger churned in my chest, bitter and consuming. How could she look me in the eyes and lie so effortlessly? The betrayal wasn't just about Emma. It was about the life we had built together, the promises made, and the trust shattered in the most calculated way. I felt hollow, as if a part of me had been carved out and left bleeding on the floor. I confronted her again, this time armed with proof. I held my phone up, showing the screenshots, my hands shaking from rage and grief. She froze, and in that moment, the mask slipped, the calm, practiced composure vanished, replaced by a flicker of guilt, quickly hidden behind denial and excuses. "It's not what it looks like," she said, her voice trembling but insincere. "Whedon, it's complicated." Complicated. The word mocked me. I could feel the weight of every lie pressing down on me, suffocating me with its inevitability. My heart raced, torn between the desire to scream, to lash out, to demand justice, and the heartbreak of losing someone I had truly loved. My hands shook as I tried to steady my breathing, as if control of myself could undo the damage already done. Friends and family noticed the change. I withdrew from them, unable to explain the betrayal, without reliving it in agonizing detail. I replayed her messages, her smiles, the moments I had trusted her completely, over and over in my mind. Each memory now carried the sting of deception, a constant reminder that love, no matter how deep, could be twisted and broken. And yet, amid the heartbreak, a small spark of clarity emerged. I realized that while the betrayal had taken something from me, it had also revealed the truth. The illusions were gone. The lies were exposed. And though the pain was unbearable, the truth gave me something no deception ever could: power. The power to decide, to act, and to reclaim my life from the shadow of betrayal. The days that followed were the hardest I had ever faced. Every corner of my life seemed tainted by betrayal. The home that had once felt warm and safe now felt like a cage, echoing with the ghosts of lies. But amid the suffocating grief, I realized that I had a choice. I could allow this deception to define me, or I could reclaim my life with the clarity that only truth provides. I began by cutting through the web of manipulation. Conversations with her became cold, calculated, and direct. No pleading, no excuses, no false reassurances. Each word I spoke was measured, a reflection of the strength I had discovered within myself. For the first time in weeks, I felt a strange sense of liberation. Not joy, not yet, but the raw, undeniable power of knowing the truth and refusing to be broken by it. Ending the relationship was inevitable. There was no going back, no pretending that a betrayal could be forgiven without leaving permanent scars. I packed the remnants of our shared life, each item heavy with memories now tainted by deception. The act of leaving felt like reclaiming pieces of myself that had been lost, stolen in the quiet manipulation of trust. Friends and family became my anchors. I allowed myself to lean on them, to speak the words I had held inside for far too long. Sharing the truth lifted part of the burden, and their support reminded me that I was not alone, even when my heart felt shattered. Slowly, the storm inside me began to calm, leaving a resolute determination in its wake. I also confronted the consequences of betrayal with a level head. Emma and her wife were now part of a story I no longer had to live, a chapter that had ended. I refused to let anger consume me or control my future. Instead, I focused on healing, on rebuilding trust in myself, and on setting boundaries that would protect me from being deceived again. In the end, the decision was simple. I chose myself. I chose honesty over illusion, clarity over confusion, and self-respect over betrayal. And as I stepped forward into a life rebuilt on truth, I understood something vital. Love is precious, but it cannot thrive where deceit exists. True strength comes from facing the pain, acknowledging it, and moving forward, unbroken and wiser than before. Months had passed since the betrayal was laid bare, yet the memories remained, etched deep in my heart. The pain had dulled, replaced now with clarity and understanding. I had learned, in the hardest way possible, that love alone is never enough. Trust, honesty, and respect are the pillars that sustain it, and when they crumble, even the strongest bonds cannot survive. I often found myself reflecting on the warning signs I had ignored, the subtle hints my intuition had whispered but I had silenced, the late-night messages, the secretive glances, the rehearsed reassurances. All of it was there if I had only listened. And yet, I also realized that blame was not solely for her. It was for me, too, for allowing hope and love to blind me to the truth. But self-blame gave way to understanding, and understanding gave way to strength. Life had moved forward. Slower at first, then with the steady pace of someone determined to reclaim control. I rebuilt routines, nurtured friendships, and learned to trust myself again. Each day was a small victory. Each smile a quiet rebellion against the shadows that once haunted me. I discovered that resilience is born not from the absence of pain, but from confronting it, owning it, and refusing to let it define you. The lessons were painful, but invaluable. Deception can appear gentle, even loving, until its weight crushes everything in its path. Intuition is a powerful compass, and ignoring it can be costly. Most importantly, self-respect is not negotiable. It is the anchor that keeps you grounded when betrayal threatens to sweep you away. As I looked forward, I knew that my heart was stronger now, tempered by fire yet capable of hope. The scars would remain, but they no longer signified weakness. They were proof of survival, a reminder that even after betrayal, life continues, love endures, and truth always finds its way to light. In that realization, I finally found peace.